legitimately, I have a list of Miami things that I want to yell about. I have my podium, and then there was I left P3 open because I was like, I think I know what I want here, but I have the extra things here. I am in college football prime form. I have not felt this way in an unbelievably long time, and like I said, I'm gonna come crashing down in sadness when nope, we're not going to get
Nope.
negative, Nicole. We're keeping up this bizarrely optimistic attitude that we have.
Recording from New York and Los Angeles, your hosts, Nicole Katz and Brianna Klein, are emerging from the tunnel for this week's show. Another sports show is ready to broadcast to you on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make us one of your stars of the game by subscribing, liking the video, and turning on auto downloads. Before we kick off, please leave us a podcast review and YouTube comment. Attend the postgame on social media for exclusive daily content. Today on another sports show.
Football is back. So there's no better way to start this episode than our first edition of Hot Takes, College Football Week 1, where we discuss what the Notre Dame A&M game means for Notre Dame or A&M, shocking things that happened this college football weekend. Nicole gives us the first edition of Is the U Back meter. And spoiler alert, she's in full delusional fan mode, and it's great. And then we talk about what are the actual college football teams in contention for a national championship after their week 1 performance. But we can't forget about baseball, because it is officially September, which means it's the final push to the playoffs. We recap last week's Series of the Week, where we talk about the Dodgers beating the Baltimore Orioles and the Phillies Braves series. And then, of course, we give this week's upcoming Series of the Week predictions. There's so many sports going on right now. It is officially, we have exited summer because it was so hard to get every single thing going on in sports this week into this episode. But we are halfway through the US Open, so we had to talk about opening rounds and make our predictions for the final week of action in the US Open. Nicole gives us the best things that have happened in the Paralympics so far. And of course, it is the final week of our NFL season preview, where I give you everything you need to know about the NFC East, where you really get to see the scared fan underbelly of my Philadelphia Eagles fandom. And like every week, we wrap it up with the final buzzer. Take it away, voiceover man.
It's another sports show, but it's not. Hot take.
College football is here. I woke up yesterday and watched so much football. Wow. I was carrying around my little phone. It was like my little TV screen. And there was just, it is literally the most wonderful time of the year. I am in a great mood, obviously, because the Canes won, but just wow, so much college football is back. And I feel like a child waking up on Christmas morning. Or I guess the day after Christmas, who received everything she wanted from Santa, is kind of
what you would
best.
Describe as yesterday everything you wanted?
No, I mean, I'm feeling high. I'm feeling like I definitely have some fan delusion today. And I don't know if that's because I was going into the college football season very reserved, and all of those reservations are kind of almost being thrown out the window, which is because I don't know how to keep my cool about anything. I mean, I'm wearing the most ridiculous shirt I own.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing in your closet.
Right.
I'm not fully there, hence why I'm not wearing my ridiculous shirt yet.
Which is fair and allowed, but we can't get. We're not even there yet. But I'm just so hyped about college football being back.
I love week 1 of college football because it feels like an appetizer to the NFL. But I'm also much more of an NFL person than a college football person. In my brain, I think you tend to be the opposite. But this week I get so hyped because I get to sit there and watch football for a whole day. I'm oh, yes. And it's and Thursday, the NFL's back. That's what's my brain is like. So, and next week is real football. We get to watch amateur football before real football.
Yeah, so much football. It's going to be pregame football for then the rest of the other football. And there's going to be so much football. There's going to be so many footballs thrown and touchdowns and sacks and pick sixes. And I love football. Yay! Oh, my God.
All right. Well, I think, in college football fashion, there were some good teams beating up on crappy teams. But then there were some teams in the same tier of college football that we're actually facing off this week. The biggest of all those games was Notre Dame at Texas A&M. So I thought we'd start there with our college football discussion. Notre Dame beat Texas A&M in a deceptive final score, in my opinion, of 30-10. If you actually sat there and watched the game, it really felt like Notre Dame squeaks out a win over Texas A&M. So my question for you is, do you think that game is a detriment to how good Notre Dame is going to be this season by how close they played A&M, or a credit to A&M hanging with a big dog?
I'm going with that this is a detriment to Notre Dame. I hot take, but like maybe not a hot take. I consistently think Notre Dame is overrated, and the reason that they were able to win out this game is Texas A&M's defense just got gassed. Like, it was totally could have held them, but they were just spending so much time out there that they just couldn't hold them, and then that's kind of like was how Notre Dame's kind of able to like squeak through. I'm thinking it's detriment to Notre Dame. And also they have such a weak schedule, but so they're going to remain a topic of conversation annoyingly. So I don't
Notre
really
Dame.
think
They're always going to be.
Right. It's still annoying. So it'll continue to be annoying about it. But I think it was a good showing for Texas A&M, but I more think of it as a detriment to Notre Dame just by, if you are number 7 ranked team, like that game should have been technically a lot easier if you were playing like a true number 20 or just if you're a true number 7.
I don't know. I kind of throw out the rankings and who cares about the preseason top 25 poll? Like, guess what? Like, Notre Dame is probably going to be ranked like really high to start the season because it's like, I'm not going to rant about that, but I think that the Texas A&M defense is the real deal. I think their front is really impressive. I think Texas A&M will continue to and always be the Texas A&M that can't win a big game. But I'm actually going to call this a credit to A&M game. Because of who Texas A&M is and the low expectations I have for them, I was shocked at how much they hung on to this. And I don't think Texas A&M's strength is their offense in any way. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I think both teams went back to their locker rooms and figured out halftime adjustments, and then Notre Dame figured it out and Texas A&M didn't make that halftime adjustment, which doesn't surprise me based on who Texas A&M is. But I think if you look at that first half, they hung with the big dog so much better than I thought they could. So while I don't think Texas A&M is going to be like great this season and they have to get beat up in the SEC and all this stuff that happens normally for Texas A&M, I think they're constantly going to be a scrappy team you have to play, and they should roll into year 2 with their new coach next year, probably feeling pretty confident based on one game. I'm making assessments based on one game.
I think that's a really solid assessment. I mean, first, going into the season without Jimbo Fisher, which, definitely didn't pan out in any way that anyone wanted to.
Oh, no, that feels like
wow. Whoa, so sad. I hate Jimbo Fisher. Not a hot take. But
I think everyone hates Jimbo Fisher.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, not a hot take. So I think you have a really solid assessment. I will be intrigued to see kind of where Texas A&M is at the end of this season, and then especially going into next year, because they showed up. It was a solid performance going in. I'll just always bank on Notre Dame choking.
All right, I'm going to be the first to admit that I did zero prep work going into this college football season. I basically showed up on my couch yesterday and I went, let's figure this out. So here, for that reason, are the top most shocking things that happened in college football week 1 to me.
A bonus mention because we struggle with self-editing.
Clemson getting wrecked the way they got wrecked. I knew that Clemson wasn't going to be good this year, but not good to their standards. I also knew that eventually it was going to catch up to Dabo that he refuses to use the transfer portal in any way. But it felt incredible to watch them get wrecked the way they got wrecked. So again, it wasn't like I expected them to lose, but not like that.
Yeah, that was insane. It was like, where is Clemson? This doesn't look like Clemson, but just, I don't understand that whole like anti-transfer portal mentality. I mean, again, so the opposite of what I'm living, but.
Shocking. If you are not a fan of players being able to make their own choices and not a fan of paying your employees, maybe people don't want to work for you. And then it looks like that. Shocker.
In P3.
The Miami Hurricanes actually smashed the Gators. We'll put a pin in that. We're talking about that next segment. But if we actually did a pre-prediction show for this week in college football, I would have said Canes loss. Easy. And Nicole would be like, but Miami's ranked and they have this new quarterback. And she would have tried to convince me because she did. Off pod. Nope. No part of me thought that was even in the realm of realistic possibilities.
In P2,
Iowa scored 40 points. So the fun fact with this is the game was still hit the under for expected points because the under for combined points of both teams was 40.5, and because Iowa also had a shutout, they the game hit the under. So that was fun. But yeah, Iowa scored points, and that was shocking.
There were probably so many like last minute parlays or just bets put in to like put that on the over, and it just totally never hit.
in P1,
Iowa scored points throwing the ball. All right, they scored 3 throwing touchdowns, which, fun fact, matched their season total for all of last year. And they only had 2 throwing touchdowns in 2022, and they did it in 1 game. And actually, it was in 1 half. They had 251 passing yards, which equated for 51% of their total yards. And guess what? They had more scoring drives than they had punts. They had 7 scoring drives and 5 punts, and 5 of the scoring drives were touchdowns. What is happening to Iowa?
That sounds like progress.
But I don't know if it's progress I want.
No, I'm not saying it as positive. It's
sad.
just in general. It sounds like figuring some things out.
Iowa fans seem like they're very happy with their new upgraded offense that was like the whole plan for their offseason that, yes, I read about after this game because I went, what is going on? Again,
what is happening? I don't know who this football. Iowa is.
Right. But the funny thing is, if the first half of the game, it was like punt, 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 turnover on downs, punt, punt. And I was like, Iowa, you're always consistent in my life. This is great. And then the second half, they were like, we figured this out. So Iowa, high throwing octane offense. Shocking. All right, let me set this up before Nicole loses her mind. If it's not very evident by watching YouTube, Nicole and I both attended the University of Miami. I feel like my overall take going into this weekend, as alluded in the podium before, was there's absolutely no way this team's any good. And I really didn't think there was any way that the outcome of the game this week was the outcome. So we're going to play a game every week with delusional sports fan Nicole Katz, who comes into every season believing the U will be the U again. We're going to do the U is back meter, where Nicole is going to determine on a scale just how back is the U going to be after this week's game. So, prelude done. Nicole, just how back is the U this week?
Let's go Canes, baby. It's great to be a Miami Hurricane. I'm in unbelievable delusional land. We have a quarterback. We have a defense. We also potentially have an offense. We have swag. And
Wait.
We alert.
Yes.
Okay, I think I counted 3. There we go. Keep going.
I love the Canes. It's been a very hard time and year. And honestly, if there was it was a prime opportunity for the Canes just to come out in the swamp and just completely fall flat on their face. And there was part of me that was emotional.
History would say that that's
History
how that
would say that is exactly what was going to happen. And I woke up yesterday. Modern history. Yes, we're talking about like in the 21st century. That's what I was prepared for. I was prepared to be like, okay, and like see a sack almost immediately. And not that like I was like down on Cam Ward, but I was just like, this is either going to be everything I want and more, or absolutely an unbelievable nightmare and torture. And I'm going to have to like see upside down U's. And instead I saw Cristobal breaking a gator jaw. Like my ego is really through the roof and I need someone to like calm me down, but I don't want to be calmed down. I'm living this high right now. I don't think, no, that's okay.
They can give you a little hope alarm.
That's probably a little bit of a hope alarm. But today, I can't even hear it. It sounds like a buzzing mosquito in the distance because the Canes literally demolished Florida in Gainesville. We are now renaming Gainesville Canesville. And the U's back, baby. At least on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, I don't know who that is, and 10 being like, wow, we're going to the national championship. I'm at, a 7. And that's high. That feels... delusion.
Jeez.
I am in delusion.
So you are. Do you want me to pull you back from delusion land or hype up your delusion land?
Let's start pulling me back and then let's throw it all out the window and hype me up again. So let's start with what I'm going to be like, yeah, but I don't care. And then
it's an unranked Gators team that's supposed to be bad with their new head coach. 100%.
And I take that and say, and this was an opportunity for us to unbelievably embarrass ourselves against an unranked team, and we didn't. And you know who did?
We alert.
Florida State. Like,
True. Okay. So, I will say the ACC is bad this year.
So bad. That was also my other takeaway when watching Clemson, Georgia. I'm like, oh, okay. So I now need to be watching us not be an unbelievable mess because like last year Clemson wasn't too hot and it was like you just didn't need to like screw up. It's gonna happen. I'm sorry everyone for how annoying that sounder is going to be.
No, it's our best sounder on the board. So it's just and Virginia Tech lost in overtime to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, that was another one of those that's just like, is Virginia Tech just like not good and Vanderbilt just like kind of doing something? What a game that was too. So it was a really good opportunity or just a really good thing of like watching the ACC kind of just be like, all right, you just need to not be an unbelievable mess and you can win the ACC, which like, not a big deal at all. I'm also like acknowledging
but they've
that
never
too,
done.
But they've never done because the only time we ever get unbelievably close, Clemson is Clemson, and we're unbelievably injured, and it's sad.
Well, and the team's not very good.
Yeah,
in those. So like you could be like, yeah, well, Clemson's Clemson, and they're injured. It's like even if they weren't injured,
Clemson's Clemson,
they're just not
bad.
good. Yeah, like there's that one year which I think was my senior year or your senior year where we went. I don't know. But sorry, got distracted with Parker's barking. My brain. I will not be as confident as you with the 7 on the is the U back scale until they don't show me that they're going to like immediately roll over on their belly for some like random 5 p.m. game against Georgia Tech. Like
allowed.
Historically, this UM team can like get up for like a relatively big game and then like will just be absolutely nonsense. So
in also that same vein, to be fair, I need specifically we'll use Georgia Tech as the example. I need Cristobal to show me that he just knows how to like end a game and kneel, like and just to like not go for things when we're gonna win. That
I don't trust him.
That makes me want to go down to like a 6. I know. I'm like hot on everything still, but Cristobal, I'm like,
I've been reading.
I'm nervous.
I spent a good portion of this morning reading like college football pundit and expert reactions to this UM game because I just feel like so we're on like opposite ends of the spectrum where I'm so jaded that I won't believe that they're actually real until like we're at the end of the season and like they're ranked 4 and it's real. Like it needs to be real. And then, but like you're like, we're back, let's do it. So we're
100%.
So I needed to get people who weren't in Lululand, and I was shocked that SVP was like, oh no, this Canes team has shown they're good enough that they're going to make one of the 12 spots in the playoffs. And if you're a fan of a big program, you might be, that's hysterical that like, she's like, oh, that's shocking. It's like, yeah, no, I don't trust this team to not be last in the ACC right now. This is so most of the reaction is, oh, this is like a good win. And that like, honestly, I watch way more NFL than college football. So I cannot evaluate college football quarterbacks. I watched Cam Ward, and I was like, okay, the fact that he won't hold the ball with 2 hands drives me up the wall. He's
it's weird. He throws so weird. He throws like
sideways. He literally, this man is going to get intercepted. He's going to fumble the ball. I'm like, I watch him and I'm like, there's no way this is a good quarterback. I did not trust him for 1 second. And then every single college football expert is like, he's incredible. That was an incredible performance. And I'm like, I get it. I don't know how to watch amateur football. So so I'm trusting the experts that everyone's like, that was an incredible performance. And I was like, I thought it was trash, but okay.
Okay, I guess if everyone says so.
Oh, but on the broadcast, I don't know if you heard this. Did you hear the Affleck quarterback trivia? Or okay, I'm going to ask it to you. And
no.
Then,
and then I have one for you because I have a coach one. If you have a quarterback,
quarterback one. Okay. How many quarterbacks who've played for the University of Miami have been drafted in the top 3 rounds since 2000?
Oh, since 2000 in the top 3 rounds. Oh, it's not a lot. Oh, now I'm trying to think of like time. It's got to be like.
It's 0.
Can't be. Oh my God, I was going to say like 2.
It's
and
0.
I was like, there's can't be. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a mean
like,
Affleck trivia question.
That is
and
I
want to be very clear.
Trivia question.
Yeah. I want to be clear that Cam Ward is so not going to break that streak, but it just puts into context how quarterback deficient this team has been for
that's
years.
Also why he came back. Like, he was going to go last year, and then he's like, oh my God, my potential draft prediction is garbage. You know what's a great thing to do? Let's go back to UM and also get paid $1 million. Like, yeah, right. That's like...
Right. This is his opportunity to make money. This is not an NFL quarterback. But honestly, what I learned in college football this weekend is a good team is actually mostly made up of non-NFL players. You want a bunch of like 5th-year seniors who are good, really good, but they're not NFL good, that like... long gone are the days of, we want a bunch of like NFL craze. Like, it's wild. Yeah, That wasn't a well-formed sentence, but I was
but to your point, like it is, especially given COVID and like how the extra like additional years of eligibility, like what we have, the Canes have Cam McCormick. He's like in his 9th year of college football. He's 26 years old.
The tight end.
Like it's an unbelievable. Good. That's exactly what I said. I was like, good for him. That's what I would absolutely love to be doing, and just figuring out how to But like it's such an interesting time of football right now because in college football, because there is such like that drastic like age range of things, and that couple years of eligibility when like redshirt. There's some silver foxes on the bench for I don't even know how to like.
Okay, but it's hysterical because they're still like significantly younger than us.
I know they're still like 26. Like,
right. So, I hope the U is back. It would make this season very fun.
Whoop whoop! I'm gonna live in that delusion. Podium of things that have led me to my Canes delusion.
A bonus mention because we struggle with self-editing.
Just the unbelievable, fantastic existence of Xavier Restrepo. I have a thing for short wide receivers that go to the University of Miami. They're my favorite, always and forever. And I love him so much. I feel the same way of like, he's going to score a touchdown. When I was starting to get jazzed and nervous that like maybe Florida will make a comeback, Xavier's like, don't worry, I'm going to score an incredible touchdown right now, and you're just going to be able to like totally chill and relax like going into the half. So like, thank you. Just thank you for that overall existence.
A bonus mention because Nicole couldn't pick.
Damian Martinez just running through being headbutt. Like, gun straight through. Right on through. Like, nothing was stopping him.
In P3.
Miami's defense.
That's very general.
Yes. Specifically, just showing up, having like not letting Florida just trample upon them. It felt like they were showing up, and the stat that proving that to me, Florida was not able to convert a 3rd or a 4th down until 2 minutes into the 3rd quarter, which feels like not something that Miami defense would ever allow to happen. It's more just like, come on in, boys. Let's let them in.
In P2.
ruining Florida's home opener record.
That was great.
This is the first time in 34 home openers that Florida has lost. And 41 points are the most allowed points Florida has ever had in their home opener.
Allowed.
Done by Miami.
They didn't have it. Yeah, they allowed that many points.
Yes.
Clarifying.
Can't even speak English. I'm like, yes.
Too excited.
Florida
too wired.
allowed.
Shocking. Nicole hasn't even had a Celsius today. This is just like, she has been living off the vibes of this win.
I need to have coffee
for
today.
Hours.
Like, I am.
Wait, you didn't
like,
have coffee today?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we should move into your P1.
Yeah. And my P1.
In P1.
Player swag is off the charts right now. It is. We have legitimately linebackers. Jalen Alderman walked up to a group of Florida recruits at the end of the game and was like, just give up now. Just come on down to the U. You don't need to be here. We just showed you exactly where you need to be. Jacoby doing like the chomp and then like unbelievable hands down after his touchdown. Cristobal breaking the chomp. And Cam Ward just saying how practice was louder than the swamp actually was. I am just, it is getting me jazzed all over the place, even down to like the fans. Like Canes fans showed up to this game and also took over Gainesville in such a magnificent way, down to like graffiti in the street that was like drained the swamp has now been updated to drained the swamp. I felt like Miami went in as the obnoxious selves and was able to show up and continue to be their obnoxious selves. And one of my favorite things is when Miami can be swaggy and it means something. So I love having Miami be swaggy, and at the same exact time, I'm like, why does my quarterback have so much time in the pocket? Because all of those things have never happened at the exact same time, and that's currently happening for me.
If you need to understand who Nicole is as a sports fan, I think you should just look at the order of that podium.
Everything, like, my number one is like not an in-game thing. It's all an attitude thing. So yeah, there you go. That's how it goes for me.
One last college football topic before we wrap up our week one reaction, our hot takes. So it seems like after week one, I would firmly put Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State in national championship contention. Like, those teams looked incredible. Are there any other teams that you think should be in that national champion bucket tier after this first week of football?
I'm in like a who I definitely don't want their camp, to kind of throw back your question of, I don't want Notre Dame. I don't want Alabama.
Well, I don't think, no, but like, okay, I don't think Notre Dame did anything to warrant being in that bucket after week one. I don't think they looked good enough. Michigan was a little sluggish, but so I wouldn't put them in that bucket right now. Alabama beat up on a crap team, but they don't look as good as those other three teams. So I would probably put Bama a tier below. And again, we can't talk about like who's going to make the playoff anymore because that doesn't matter.
It just becomes like an unbelievable explosion of things.
Like, there's 12 teams. So it's like those three teams I think are firmly after week one, like, oh, you could win a national championship, that you're that good. But did any other teams to you like look that good?
I think it's hard to say in terms of like who was played yesterday. So as of right, I can't put in another number 4 yet. I think Oregon's ranked too high. Like, Oregon currently being like in that top 3, I think that's about to drop like dramatically.
Yeah, I don't think Oregon, I mean, even if they don't drop out of the rankings, it's not about that. I just don't think they look as good as those three teams. Like
100%, like not even close.
I think someone could make an argument for Alabama.
Just because it's
Alabama. I just don't think they didn't look that good, but they did do exactly what they were supposed to do this week. So it's a little
right. It's the same way. Like, I also think like Ole Miss is supposed to have like a really strong offense this year, but also they played Furman and won 72-0. So like it could be like a potential topic.
Okay, we need to like No, like you saying Alabama and Ole Miss in the same sentence, I understand that your boyfriend went to Ole Miss and you're going to know too much about them, but like Ole Miss would be happy to make the playoffs. We are not talking about them in the same breath as Georgia. They don't even warrant being brought up in this conversation of should they be included in the national championship bucket? No.
They don't.
The answer is just no. I don't care. No. Like, that is so silly. I think it would have made more sense for you to bring up UM in this conversation than Ole Miss.
UM in the national championship. Cam Ward's going to bring us there. Cam Ward, Xavier Restrepo, Martinez, we're going to all get carried to the national championship. I'm going to get to see it all happen in Atlanta. They're going to lift that golden football, and all my dreams are going to come true.
I think probably the only college football team we can throw in here is probably Texas. They played no one, but they looked incredible.
Yeah, it seemed, even when Arch Manning was in, they looked good. So it's like, oh, this is going to be, Texas is going to be part of the conversation this year for real. So it'll be exciting to see them against Michigan next week. After
week 1, because it's Texas. And they're also in the group of teams that I don't trust until I absolutely have to. But when we will talk about it on the special Friday football forecast episode. But I have some Arch Manning quarterback controversy things I think we need to discuss for sure, because it's Texas. A disclaimer for the show is that the amount of Philadelphia Eagles talk on this show is going to dramatically plummet because I can't talk about the Eagles in any kind of reasonable way. Like we're going to do entire NFL previews that don't even mention the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's just because I have no interest in like bearing my soul in that way on this show.
Yeah, that's too intimate of an experience.
Last week, our first MLB series of the week was Dodgers-Baltimore. Dodgers won 2 of the 3 games. They were the first team to 80 wins this season. They're still very injured and probably will continue to be for the rest of the season. But despite the injuries, they're still clear and away the betting favorite to win the World Series. At this point in the season, are they your favorite? This. All right, I'm at the point of the Celsius where like too much is in my body.
Everything feels vibrating.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, I went from being exhausted to being properly energized, and I have gone too far now. As of the morning of September 1st, do you think the Dodgers are the favorite? Do you agree with Vegas?
I currently right now do agree with Vegas, especially kind of where they're in the middle of the series with the Diamondbacks. The Dodgers just kind of like, even with injuries, like really solid and reliable in a way. Like I just feel like it's a good bet. And also I feel like Ohtani's going to go 50-50. Like it just seems like that man's not stopping.
It's just at this point, it's just exciting if he would go 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting that you call them reliable, because what's actually reliable is pitching, and I wouldn't call their pitching super reliable.
Fair.
So, and like it's always, like in the NFL, it's like defense wins championships. So like offense gets you to the playoffs, but defense wins championships is like the old adage. In baseball, pitching wins championships. So as incredible as Shohei is and the top of their hitting lineup is, they could easily just go cold.
Fall back on pitching.
That being said, I do think that there's a reason they're the betting favorite to win the World Series. I don't think that's misplaced. And the Phillies haven't looked good enough to
have a higher that. Yeah.
But it's I don't know. I don't think I would, because their pitching is a little more of a question mark for me. I don't have a better team to pick right now, but let's just say I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make it to the World Series, didn't even make it to the championship game. They've fallen short in the last couple of years, and it would make complete sense to me if it
happened again.
Right, yeah. Right. Yeah. But I think what's so interesting about baseball this year is because of the new wildcard format and so many teams making the playoffs, and for the last 2 seasons on the NL side, it's been that 7th team that just got hot and made it to the World Series. I think there are a lot more like teams that are good enough and are just banking on getting hot at the end. And that's why we're seeing
whoever's going to be the one to like slide in like right there.
Right. It could, and it doesn't even matter if it's that, but like I think there's just more teams that didn't sell at the deadline that are good enough that they could make a run. And I think that's also why we're seeing for the first time in years, like no team that's on track to win 100 games, which is a wild thing. And that's just because there's more good teams, which is good for baseball, but makes this conversation hard about.
Yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit less clear of like the overall, and it's kind of fun to not have like such unbelievable dominance and still like have that question again, like good for the sport. And I guess that it'll be kind of intrigued to see, now my brain's thinking of like expanded into like college football playoffs, like the rearranging of like that postseason, like how it can just so affect like the overall outcomes and like going in towards that end of the season. And I think it is definitely really possible that someone can just get hot and like slide right in, and who knows who that'll be. But at least right now I'm still sticking with the Dodgers for World Series.
Well, our second series of the week was the Braves traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Phillies. At the time of recording this, we've seen 3 of the 4 games. The Phillies have won 2 of the 3, which honestly, yesterday was a giant sigh of relief for me because I just needed the Phillies to, at bare minimum, split the series. And now the bare minimum is they've split the series.
It's always,
Okay.
I feel like this was always one of those where it's like, we just need to win one. And now you're like, if we split, and then as soon as the game 3 ended, it's like, okay, Brianna's going to be like, we're good. Baseline.
Yeah. The division lead is up to 5 games. It's like, it could have gotten as low as 1 game. I would have been a nightmare to be around. And if everyone listening to this is like, wow, Brianna talks a lot about the Phillies, and she's kind of an anxious nightmare about the Phillies, and like, she's so worried about this Braves team catching up in the division. This is why we're not really going to be talking about the Eagles, because the Eagles are my religion and the Phillies I love. There's a difference. Okay. But really, my takeaway from, like, maybe this isn't like the takeaway from this series, but Zach Wheeler needs to win the Cy Young. The fact that he hasn't won, he is so unbelievably incredible. In game 3, he pitched 7 incredible shutout innings against the Braves. And like, the anchor point in this team this year has felt like Zach Wheeler. Because even when everything was going wrong, I knew that if Zach Wheeler was starting, they're likely winning that game. Because he is just, I think this entire season, he's had one rocky start. And the Phillies ended up even winning that game because a rocky start for him was giving up like 3 runs. Like, it's just, this man is incredible. Please give him the Cy Young. I'm not even phrasing this like a question. I am just campaigning for this, Nicole. Zach Wheeler should win the Cy Young, and there's no reason you should say no.
Brianna stepping on her soapbox, like, welcome to our podcast this week. This is completely for Wheeler to win the Cy Young Award. I don't disagree with you. This, like, stats are there. It all lines up. It makes sense. I mean, completely watching game 3 was the anchor, like, to what you said, and like just the main focal point of like being able to carry that. God, what I had written down, favorite commentator stats of last 5 starts against Atlanta, he's only allowed 5 earned runs. So it's like, you know, things that we absolutely love to hear. So he's got my vote. That does not. You know,
doesn't count.
I don't vote, but you haven't.
Last week we did the like small meltdown after the Phillies Braves series, and
They
the Phillies actually bad and stuff like that. Like, I reoriented my brain as the Phillies starting lineup kind of restabilizes with Ranger back in it, and Christopher Sanchez getting better starts again. Nola is always just going to be frustrating to watch, but he's good. Like, it's a reminder to me that if this team makes a run in the postseason, it's going to be because they're starting pitching and their relievers are incredible. And they've started to pitch like that again. Wheeler never stopped, but everyone around Wheeler has started to pitch that incredible again. And the 3 games against the Braves, it's not like the Phillies hitting has gotten any better. It's pretty mediocre. Bryce Harper looks much better.
Yeah, I was going to say, not that it's gotten significantly better, but also just compared to like July to now, like it's still like a little different.
Casty is hitting 300 in the second half of the season, which is just wild because he started the season hitting 200. And I was having a meltdown because I love Casty and I wanted him to be better. And he is being, oh gosh, things are better when Casty's better. And Bryce actually had hits. And apparently Bryce is dealing with some wrist injury that they finally told us about. But I think they told us about it right after he is feeling better, which is like such a nothing.
Like, just so you know, this was happening. It's like, well, can we say maybe it's still happening if things aren't 100% yet?
Yeah. Honestly, I just really appreciated it because we've all been like, can you just tell us if Bryce is hurt so we cannot flame him if he's, and then they were like, okay, he's a little hurt, guys. Okay?
It's recorded on this podcast. Very much. This, yeah.
I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me. But I didn't mean to make this all about the Phillies. I really just wanted to, like, my takeaway from the series is Phillies pitching is really righting the ship and looks as incredible as it did at the beginning of the season. And Zach Wheeler should win the Cy Young.
Nicole predicts a ball game. Nicole predicts the series. Give her almost no info and stats. We don't care if she doesn't know bat. Let us root for her predictions. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out in our prediction game.
I have to say that I really struggled to assign the series of the weeks this week. There's a lot of really good teams getting to play really bad teams, which are less exciting series of the weeks. But the first half of the week, I decided to pick 2 teams, and I called it the wild card chasing teams. Boston in the AL and at the Mets in the NL. Now, the Mets are currently 8th, so they're right outside the window. Boston is currently 8th. So they are right outside the window. Both of these teams need this series to keep gaining for that 7th wild card spot. Also, we just haven't really had a good opportunity to do a series of the week with Nicole's favorite team, the Mets. So I thought this was a fitting week to do that. How are you feeling going into this series?
I don't feel good because of the Mets. Watching the Mets and the White Sox this week was like torturous. That was terrifying. Like, oh, so what a week to be picking the Mets because I don't feel great about the Mets. But like, and all the times that I not that I ever do feel great about the Mets, but particularly how I feel about the Canes, real opposite about how I feel about the Mets. And also just because like the rest of their schedule is super difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I would say a positive is they are relatively keeping pace with the Braves.
Right.
So, because that's the team they're going to have to beat out.
I know. It's like this.
The Mets are going to have to beat out the Braves.
Right, yeah. Exactly. That's 100% it, and that's why. But against Boston, it's home at Citi Field. I'm going with my gut, and I'm going to be down. I'm going with Boston.
If there was betting lines for how Nicole would bet on this series, it would be like the odd. I would say it would be like 85% chance that Nicole would pick Boston to win this series because Nicole doesn't like to pick her own teams. The only team in the world she ever gets cocky about is the Canes, which is wild.
Which is wrong. And I should not at all. Like, I not that I've never been given a reason to be really cocky about them, actually. I don't know. That's delusion. But yeah, I'm not gonna get hot on the Mets. And if, next week I get to be like, I was so wrong, I will be so happy to say that I was wrong.
Oh, wait, are you predicting a Boston sweep or do you think the Mets at least get a game?
2-1. I'll get Mets will have a game.
Well, I'm rooting for the Mets to win the series because
of course you are.
I hate the Braves. The second series of the week is 2 teams that have had really hot second halves of their season. The Arizona Diamondbacks are traveling to Houston to take on the Astros. Now, I think it's well recorded on this podcast now that we don't like the Astros. But guess what? I also really don't like the Arizona Diamondbacks. So these are 2 teams Brianna would love to see lose. But they're playing each other this week. So, Nicole, who are you feeling confident in backing?
I'm going with the Arizona here. I dislike the Astros more than I dislike Arizona.
Okay, but who do you actually think is going to win?
I'm still going with Arizona. I do think Arizona will win. And for funsies, I'm going to go with a sweep. Just for funsies. Guys, if you're not watching the Paralympics, if you miss that Olympics feeling, it is there and back. And it's on Peacock. Like you can, and I'm throwing my mic around. And you can get the same exact experience of the Olympics at like 9 a.m. You want to watch a random sport. You can. And here am I going to, this is what you have to watch. Goal ball. Goal ball. Goalball. It's like a combination of dodgeball and bowling and soccer. It is for visually impaired athletes. And they all wear blackout masks, and they sit on the floor in front of these giant goals, and they have to roll a ball that has a bell inside of it while wearing these blackout masks. And they play 2 12-minute halves and like have to score on each other. They're basically playing blindfolded floor soccer. Oh my God.
That's incredible.
It is in the prelims, so it's not in my like best rankings of things that have happened thus far in the Paralympics, except if things happening to me in the Paralympics is discovering goalball. Like, I know I was all jazzed about breaking, but like, guys, this is for real. Goalball is the most exciting thing I may have watched this summer so far.
When do they get out of prelims?
That's a fantastic question. Tomorrow! Oh my gosh. This is perfect timing. Okay, so September 3rd, when this episode is released, the playoffs for goalball are occurring for men and for women. So really, guys, this is the perfect time. September 3rd is when all of the quarterfinals, it's no longer prelims. We're getting to the real deal for then the medal games happening on September 5th for men's and women's.
All right, I'm there. I'm watching. You've convinced me. I can't believe people do sport blindfolded. That's incredible.
And there's a really cool, like on the Team USA's TikTok right now, it's one of the first like 2 videos. They talk about how the different, like how to play goalball and also explaining like why they, like what the masks are for and all the things behind it. And that's literally what made me then go and click in Peacock to watch one of the prelims. Super exciting and really fun. It's a good watch, and they're very competitive. Like some of the most, I mean, all Paralympians will be competitive. It felt like there was a different level happening.
All right, there's too many sports that are going on this week, but we couldn't not talk about the Paralympics. So Nicole has brought her best things that have happened in the Paralympics so far.
A bonus mention because Nicole couldn't pick.
I needed to talk about Brazil's Gabriel Araujo's gold medal backstroke. 100-meter backstroke had the most unbelievable lead. Gabriel does not have arms, and he led the backstroke like crazy, unbelievably developed this wild lead. He did his 100-meter in 1 minute and 53 seconds. Second and third place, 2 minutes and 1 second. So 8 seconds is significant.
Yeah.
Huge when it comes...
That's a wild margin.
Right, to Paralympic swimming. So Gabriel really, if you haven't checked out this race, lead the whole time. It was like a no-brainer that he just kind of owned this.
In P3.
Jaden Blackwell's gold medal in the men's T38 100-meter. Not only did Jaden get a gold medal, but he also broke his own world record. I love saying breaking his own world record. It's like breaking a record that was previously owned by him for running this in 10.64 seconds, which I can't do. Even close. Not even close.
Yes. Guess what? We are not Olympic athletes. So.
In P2.
Elizabeth Marks with the first medal for Team USA. So she won a silver in the women's freestyle. Elizabeth Marks is one of those unbelievable stories where she was a combat medic in Iraq, and due to losing her leg in 2010, then decided to become a Paralympic swimmer athlete. So another incredibly unbelievable, was like a really powerful first medal for the USA to win in the Paralympics this year.
In P1.
Gia Pergolini's first gold for Team USA. 100-meter backstroke. She was just 0.3 seconds away from breaking her own world record that she set in Tokyo. So she was this close, but still managed to get the gold and still managed to get that first gold medal for Team USA.
At the time of recording, the round of 16 for the US Open has just started. By the time this episode's released, the quarterfinals are going to be out. So the next episode will react probably to the final of all the US Open. But right now we can talk about to the early rounds leading into the round of 16. And there were some crazy early exits. So originally, when I wrote out this outline, I was like, okay, so we're going to talk about Naomi Osaka and Carlos exiting early, even though we spent a large portion of the episode going, hey, Carlos, do you want to avenge that silver medal and beat Djokovic? And so I got really nervous that we were going to have to watch a Djokovic, winning and breaking the record for 25 Grand Slams. But he came in at the end and really helped us out by also having an early exit. So of all of these 3 early exits that I outlined here, did anything really surprise you?
I thought I was going to be the most shook about Carlos, but
same.
Waking up to I opened my phone graphic of, because I fell asleep because it's so late, Djokovic being out.
Wild.
Blew my mind. I texted you immediately like, wow, we manifested something really hard that it came true. I don't know if that would have been the exact thing, but I'm not upset that this was the thing that we manifested so hard. So no historic title for Djokovic. Really interesting. I just don't know now. I mean, it's just, I had said last week it would be an incredible upset if he were to lose. And it is, and it continues to be, but definitely opens the door for like a very interesting, like, well, now who's left? Who is it going to be this year? Because we don't have there was no Carlos, there's no Djokovic, there's no Nadal, there's no Federer. Like
I believe this is the first Grand Slam final in 20 years. Don't quote me on that exact number, but I wish I looked it up before we hit record. That doesn't have a Nadal. Federer.
Oh, it's since 2002. I remember setting this
22 years.
It's 22 years.
Yeah, which is, I mean, I think we've really felt in the last 2 years a transition towards the next generation of tennis and building new stars. But this really feels like a turning point in that moment in history. It feels my entire existence in tennis has been those 3 men in Grand Slam finals.
Big 3. Yeah. And then it really seemed like it was going to continue that way when, Carlos went out, and it's like, okay, so now it's just going to like breeze on through, but no, definitely not. And Djokovic really struggled with his serve in his last match, and he was straight up with it. He's like, my serving sucked. And that can like make the big difference when it's coming down to a game like that. And you just need to find someone in like the right mindset, but no more Djokovic.
Of all the early exits, Naomi Osaka's, like, it wasn't like, because she's still like coming back from her maternity leave. I felt like her first round win was really positive for her, where she was able to come back and like win in a Grand Slam, and she's really setting a good foundation for next year for herself, it feels like. I was just devastated by her earlier exit because no more outfits.
Yeah, no more outfits. But in a way, I almost think her comeback was that first match in such a powerful way because it was a top 10 win. And because that the rankings in tennis mean so much, and how she's trying to like climb her way back in after coming back from maternity leave. Like she demonstrates that she can do it. So almost to me, I felt like whatever happens now is a bonus. Yes, I'm going to be like devastated with more outfits. But the fact that she came in with such a difficult first round and had a fantastic match made me feel like this is setting for a great foundation for next year.
Agreed. So heading into the final week, who are you rooting for to win both men's and women's singles?
Coco. Coco is my number 1 pick for women's. That's not a hot take. I probably would have said that last week as well, even though I was rooting for Naomi, but I love Coco
wanted Naomi
so much.
to have a positive week.
Right.
But realistically, I'm rooting
defend the title. Let's do it. Yeah, I have been rooting for Coco for years now. Just absolutely adore her. And for men's, I'm going for Francis Tiafoe. I am like really leaning in. I was really impressed with his like 4-hour long match against Ben Shelton that he came out on top in, and like really showed his determination there. I also just enjoy watching him play. So those are my 2 picks, both staying within USA. And but go. It's our last NFL preview because the NFL season is like actually here. I know we've been saying Thursday. That, but like now it's real. Now it's like this week. It's September. It is sports. It is football. The air is crisper. The leaves are changing. People are ordering pumpkin lattes at Starbucks, and like there's so many more people sitting on couches on Sundays. Wow, happy fall. It's time for football.
Happy football season.
But we do have one final NFL preview to get into before we can kick off the season with the NFC East. So if this is your first NFL preview that you were listening to from another sports show, oh my God, congratulations. You have all of the other ones that you get to go back and listen to right now at the exact same time. But you get to hear us preview the NFC East, where basically we go through every team in the division, and Brianna gives us a ranking on a scale of 1 to 10 about how nervous she is. 1 being, oh my God, we're the most nervous we've ever been, and 10, we're cool, calm, and collected as a cucumber.
Nervous if they were playing the Eagles this week.
If these teams were to be playing the Philadelphia Eagles this week.
Yeah.
We left the NFC East for last for obvious reasons, and that's where we're going to kick it off with the joyous, amazing, lovely, gross. I can't even finish saying it. The Dallas Cowboys.
Last year's division winners, the Dallas Cowboys.
Gross.
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay, I'm going to come into this. So, of course, I give everything a ranking. I give everything a score. I will save that for the end. I need everyone to understand that these scores might be higher than if I was actually ranking teams objectively. The rankings are about my personal nerves. And guess what? It's the NFL. It's any given Sunday. Division games are hard, which means my nerve levels for all these teams are probably going to be higher than if I was just ranking them.
This is a rankings of emotions. We're not ranking based on logic here. That's not what we're here for. No. That's not what this show is for.
No. That makes sense. We're still going to run through these teams the same way we've been running through all of them. We're looking at the PFF grades for offensive line as a unit, defensive line as a unit, and we'll talk a little bit about quarterback, of course. Cowboys. Coming into this year, this is the shakiest their offensive line has been in 5 years. They had a lot of turnover this offseason. So they lost their left tackle, Smith, and their center, who actually is now playing for the Washington Commanders, in free agency. They have plugged in rookie tackle Gudon for their left tackle this year. All reports coming out of camp and preseason is that he looks incredible, and of course the Cowboys hit again in their offensive line. But he's still a rookie, and there's still a lot of turnover, and it's shaky. And then Hoffman is expected to play center, who's just been a backup. Now, the strength of this offensive line is in their guard duo in Smith and Martin, but it's unknown. Everything around them is an unknown, which means the PFF ranked their offensive line coming into the season as 10. I would say that they're probably going to end the season higher ranked than that based on reports on the rookie tackle out of camp, and tackle play is so important for an offensive line unit. So I think, but this is the shakiest it's been in years, which is, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm smiling.
So happy.
Yep. Their defensive line unit, guess what? They have Philadelphia Eagles fans, Michael Parsons. And they really, for them to be outstanding and stellar, they need to see growth from second-year nose tackle Smith. But the unit is ranked 6th, and it's deservingly so. So they're good. I don't know what to tell you. The Cowboys are going to be good. They had a completely dramatic offseason. They refused to pay really good players. Dak is unhappy. All of this stuff, yes, but they're going to be good. The question about the Cowboys is just how good are they going to be? All right, I'm going to do something shocking here. I'm going to be positive about Dak Prescott. So PFF ranks him number 6 quarterback. I think at this point, there is no disputing that Dak is a not good quarterback. Yeah, Dak's a really good quarterback. Is Dak Patrick Mahomes? No, but he's really, really good. And I'm just going to say here that the Cowboys being incapable of winning in the playoffs has extended well beyond Dak Prescott's tenure. This is just who the Cowboys are. I think it is completely unfair to say that the Cowboys playoff curse that I love and is fantastic is on Dak. But guess what? Jerry Jones doesn't seem like he wants to pay Dak, and I love that. Get rid of your top 10 quarterback. Please. Pretty please. But that's not affecting this season. The truth is I think the Cowboys are going to be good. And guess what? We're going to be in week 10 to 12 of this season, and it's probably going to be the Cowboys and the Eagles competing for this division, because that's just what recent history tells us. Whoa! Would I love that to not be the case? Of course. But the Cowboys are a 2. They are in the same tier for me when I come into stress levels as if they were going to play Kansas City or Detroit that week. Honestly, they're probably the highest because the Kansas City is probably the best team in the league right now. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, bar none. Like, should I be more stressed about playing the Chiefs? Yeah, but I'm probably, because the Cowboys game means more, I'm probably at the highest of the high twos for the Cowboys.
Totally normal reaction.
Yep.
Thank you.
Again, there's the logic, and again, logic and the emotion that can push you over there. And I'm your confirmation bias, and I'm telling you that all makes sense.
Woo!
Moving on to the New York Giants. Danny Dimes. Ooh.
Well, let's just say there's a tier at the bottom of the league, and the Giants are in that tier. But let's talk through it. PFF ranks their offensive line as 29th in the league. It was one of the worst last year, and some of that was due to injuries, and some of that was not due to injuries. So the things that are not due to injuries that would have effect this year is, their center, Michael Schmitz Jr., was a second-round pick in 23, and the right tackle, Evan Neal, was a top 10 pick in 22, and both of them have been disappointing on the offensive line. So they basically have these two incredible first-round top picks that just didn't perform last year, and there's no reason to think that this would be the year that they do perform. Now, of course, last year they did have an injury to their left tackle, Andrew Thomas, and if he stays healthy and gets back to his 2022 form, PFF doesn't think that that's going to make up for their poor performances on the rest of the line. So in my opinion, and I agree with them in their analysis, that you can't look at last year and be like, oh, that was injury. It's like, no, it was a bunch of high draft picks underperforming plus injury, and even if the injury part gets better, there's no indication that this should be even a mediocre unit. Defensive line, Dexter Lawrence, very good. They signed Brian Burns from Carolina, also really good. But in order to be a really good top-of-the-league unit, they really need their third-year player, Thibodeau, to be closer to his rookie production than his second year last year. PFF ranks them 18, seems pretty fair. Like, it's a unit that is probably going to look too good against the Eagles because division game, but isn't actually good, if that makes sense.
Yes, unfortunately, it does make sense.
Yeah. Hey, guess what? So this team isn't good, and we did all this talking, and it's not good. But I guess we'll talk about Danny Jones. So fun fact, when I was researching all of this, Danny Jones was the third-ranked quarterback according to PFF grade on his own team last year.
Oh my God. I thought you were about to say third ranked overall in something. And I was like, this has to be a negative list.
That's why I phrased it that way. I wanted to send you for a spiral.
It really did. I was already going somewhere. I'm sure in the video, I'm like, what? Okay. Third ranked in his own. Yes. Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito had better overall season rankings. Yeah. So PFF did their quarterback rankings in tiers. And I really appreciated their names of tiers and stuff. So Danny Jones was ranked 29th in the league. That puts him in tier 7, and they called it the holdovers. So essentially, it's the tier below all the rookie unknowns. But hey, guess what? We know you're not good, but you're still a quarterback somewhere, is essentially the tier he's in. You can't sit there and be like, high hopes, like you would in the rookie tier above it. He is right below, Will Levis.
And Danny Dimes doesn't have a mayo fragrance.
No. And guess what he also doesn't have? Enough unknowns that you could hold out hope. At this point, everyone who is rational about it knows that Danny Jones is Danny Jones. He should have never gotten that contract. He is not a good quarterback. No. And the fact that New York refuses to give up on him is hysterical and brings me joy. So, you know what? Just because he looks like Eli Manning does not mean he can play like Eli Manning, who I also don't think was very good, but he did pull it together those couple of Super Bowl runs. So you might think, wow, the Giants probably not going to be very good, really low. I gave them a 5 on the stress level because it's still the Giants. It's still a division game. I still am going to be stressed, which, if you are curious, puts them in the same tier for me as the Jets, the Chargers, Atlanta, the Colts. And puts them above my stress level for the Texans, Seattle, and Miami. Because it's a division game. It's a rivalry game. They're still the Giants.
The divisional game sway in this.
Yeah.
like preview is so strong, and it's like
I understand that as a
but it's also just so fun. I know it's so fun hearing like all of the reasons as to just like Danny Jones. We totally know he's just a holdover. All of the things. He's like, I'm still a 5, and it's there, and I get it. 100. Look, Aaron Rodgers, if he makes it through like a single possession, I'm gonna be like golden. Like it's the things that we go in expecting and things like it's
The NFC East is always competitive with each other. These teams know each other too well. It's a division where all the teams in the division have rivalries with each other, which isn't true across the board. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter how good the Packers are and how bad the Bears are. That game's going to be competitive. It's just the way it is. Like a really good NFC East record at the end of the season would be going 4-2, and like the losses might be like the Eagles might sweep the Cowboys and split the series with the Giants and Washington, and none of that would surprise me. Like, would I want them to beat up on these two bad teams in the division? Yeah. When you look at the Eagles' strength of schedule, is it weighed super easy because they get to play the Giants and Washington twice? Yeah, but those games are never easy.
So then, Washington Commanders, how are they falling in terms of the divisional fear scale?
Well, their offensive line is ranked 27, which is 2 spots above the New York Giants this year. They have 3 new starters. They added 2 in free agency, 1 actually coming from the Cowboys. They outbid the Cowboys to bring them in. And then they have 1 new starter who's a 33-year-old veteran backup. He's been a journeyman backup offensive lineman and starting for the Commanders. There's a reason they're ranked 27th.
Yeah.
But they're still better than the Giants predicted to be. Their defensive line, though, is predicted to be worse than the Giants. They're ranked 19th. Probably will look much better than that when they play the Eagles because, again, division game. They do have a strong pair of interior rushers. They had a down year last year. I'm talking about Payne and Allen. But the problem with this line is that they have very little edge pressure predicted with the players they have in. So I think there's a couple of good players, not a fantastic defensive line. They have officially announced, because we waited to do this division till later, that their first round pick, Jaden Daniels, who is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner out of LSU, is going to be the quarterback this season, which is the smart choice. He's in that tier above Daniel Jones, which is rookie unknowns. PFF did rank him higher than Will Levis. Rookie quarterback, we don't know. Like, the truth is it's all a little bit of a crapshoot. I'm not going to say a lot about it. I'm also not going to say any more about Washington because guess what? They're a 5.
Division.
Yeah, division. They're going to stress me out.
It's a 5. She'll be stressed.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be a lot of stress. NFC East, there will be stress.
Yeah. If this season preview taught anyone listening, because you already know this, Nicole, anything about me, is that I'm just going to be stressed. There is no such thing as an Eagles week where I am not stressed. There's a reason there's going to be a dramatic decrease in the amount the Eagles are talked about on this podcast, because I just can't be rational and normal about it.
Okay, well, we've gone through the rest of the NFC East, and you've shared all of your stress and the rankings through the rest of the league. I think to wrap up NFL previewing, we get some final thoughts overall and some final thoughts and takeaways about the Eagles while you're still willing to share your Eagles thoughts with us.
It's not that I will never talk about the Eagles. I can just predict myself being like,
I think that's a very fair prediction and fair expectation to set moving forward.
This is on the screen on YouTube, but running through it really quickly, the teams that got a 2 stress or highest stress level were the Chiefs, the Lions, and the Cowboys. A 3-level stress were the 49ers and the Baltimore Ravens. A very large category of 4 stress was the Bills, the Bengals, the Rams, the Packers, the Steelers, and Tampa Bay if we're facing them in the playoffs.
We alert.
By the way, when I had to compile all of this yesterday in preps for recording today, I did laugh at some of my rankings and stress levels that were definitely swayed by the other teams in that division. Like, some things are higher and lower than they should be, but I feel pretty good about my stress level rankings here. In the 5th tier, we have the Jets, the Chargers, Atlanta, the Colts, Giants, and Washington. the back half of my stress levels, where I'll still be stressed, but not quite as stressed. 6 got Houston, Seattle, and Miami. 7th was the Jaguars and Tampa Bay if we meet them in the regular season.
We alert.
The Patriots and the Arizona Cardinals. And then 8 level stress was Minnesota, New Orleans, Chicago, Tennessee, and Vegas. And then the bottom feeders of I'm really not coming into this stressed at all. At a 9 is Denver and Panthers. Nothing got a 10 and nothing got a 1 yet, because we haven't actually talked about the Philadelphia Eagles. And the only thing, the team that stresses me out the most about this season is the Eagles. So obviously the Eagles can't play the Eagles, but like if this Eagles team is talented enough that they should be really good. And I think what's standing in their way is if the Eagles can't put it together. That's what keeps me the most
Eagles
stressed.
should be good if the Eagles don't get in their way.
Right. So as a reminder, I've talked about it a lot, but the Eagles' offensive line is ranked number 2 by PFF. Shockingly, Becton beat out Steen, and by shocking, like it just was so reported that Steen was going to get that right guard position, and he just lost the training camp battle, and Becton won it. Juergens is replacing Kelsey at center, so he's moving over from right guard, which he only played for a year, just as before Kelsey retired kind of thing, and Juergens becomes the center. He was drafted as a center. He is a center. I think that it's underreported how poor of a year Kelsey thought Kelsey had last year. And some inside football that you would only know if you're a crazy Eagles fan is that Kelsey did most of the protection calls at the line of scrimmage. So what that means is both lines come and then you'll hear the offense making adjustments and stuff, and they're reading the defense. And Kelsey was in charge of a lot of that. And actually, if you hear Jason Kelsey talk about it, he keeps talking about how he thinks he did a really bad job last year. And a large part of the problem with picking up the blitz, Kelsey felt like was on him. So this year, Hurts is taking over most of that calling at the line of scrimmage. And while Hurts is always very complimentary to Jason Kelsey, he also seems to be very happy that he is now in control of his own destiny at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be interesting to see that happens. All of that being said about the offensive line, if Lane Johnson is playing the game, the Eagles tend to win. If Lane Johnson is injured and out of the game, the Eagles tend to lose by crazy splits. So essentially, if Lane Johnson is in the game, the Eagles' offensive line should be stellar, fantastic, totally fine. I also want to give a shout out to Jordan Mailata, who is their left tackle. I adore. He is officially a captain for the first time in his whole career. Defensive line. This is PFF ranks them number 3, which honestly just makes me feel better because there's more unknowns on this defensive line than there ever have been in most of my life. Jalen Carter is good enough that he could be Defensive Player of the Year. Like, that would not shock me if Jalen Carter is Defensive Player of the Year this year. That is how good this man could be. In his rookie season, for the first half of the season, he looked like that player. And then he had the typical rookie thing where he got tired. He's not used to playing that much. So this year, sophomore season, Jalen Carter, it would be totally reasonable at the halfway through the year if we're like, this man could win Defensive Player of the Year. He is that good. Also, it's the Brandon Graham goodbye tour. And if, again, very inside Philadelphia, but Brandon Graham strip sack of Tom Brady secured them the Super Bowl win. I love that man. It will be the next jersey I buy. I need to do it at some point this season. But he still was stellar last year, but he's going to be a more back of the rotation player, but just a, emotional moment for me. That was the Brandon Graham goodbye tour. And lastly, Hurts. If this offensive system can give Hurts the solution he needs to beat the blitz, Hurts is going to be really good. I also throw in that he was injured for most of last season, so he looked slow. So I think we need a non-injured Hurts who looks fast when he runs. So there's the, if you were like, oh, I want Brianna to do what she's been doing for every team for the Eagles, there it is. But yeah, they get a 1, they stress me out. I know too much about the Eagles. Therefore, I am stressing about things like that we don't normally talk about. Things that really stress me out, a wide receiver number 3 and their backup safety. Those are things that keep me up at night, but I will not bore any of you with.
It's fine. We're fine. Totally normal reaction.
Stay tuned for make sure you check out our actual NFL episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Every single week now.
Friday
we're releasing.
forecast.
2 episodes. Friday gets our Friday football forecast episode, where we're going to preview that weekend's games. So, no more season preview. Week previews.
Whee!
It's time for the final buzzer.
Starting off this final buzzer on not the happiest note at all, there was unbelievably sad news of the passing of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Johnny Gaudreau is a forward for the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were both in a very sad accident when they were hit by a drunk driver in New Jersey.
Back to some non-depressing sports news. Mercedes has finally given us the announcement that we all knew was coming. 18-year-old Kimi Antonelli will be the second driver for Mercedes in F1 next season. If it was so expected, you might be wondering, why did I even put it in the final buzzer? This isn't crazy news. Well, Mercedes decided they wanted to try to make a big PR win out of this weekend. They put Kimi in the car during FP1 and they immediately gave him the fast, soft tires. They wanted him to go, punch out, put this big lap time, have a big headline about, whoa, they're signing a driver, and look, his first FP1 instance in the car, he put in this crazy lap time. Well, guess what? He crashed instead. So I don't think crashing is a bad thing. He's really fast. I have no reservations that he won't be good in Mercedes next year, but I think this was a dramatic fail by the Mercedes PR team.
Rugby 7 star, Team USA bronze medalist Ilona Maher was on the cover of Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition. She looks absolutely stunning, and the best part is she knows that she looks absolutely stunning.
Reggie Bush, a rightful Heisman champion, is now officially in the Nissan Heisman House commercials, and the defrosting joke really landed for me.
Daniel Evans and Karen Khachanov battled in the longest match at the US Open for a total of 5 hours and 35 minutes. Daniel Evans came out victorious.
The Dodgers had Shohei Ohtani's dog Decoy throw out a first pitch, and I think he gave his dad a run for his money.
Okay, I'm going to talk about Ohio State. So first, Ohio State, but yay Chipotle news. I love Chipotle, but I hate Ohio State. I don't want this to be at Ohio State. Anyway, every athlete at Ohio State, scholarship or walk-on, will receive a custom Chipotle card granting them a free entree per week for their entire season as part of the new NIL deal.
After holding out for all of camp, Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers came to terms on a deal that made him the second highest paid wide receiver in the league. There's so much I can say here, such as why go through all of this, 49ers, if you were just going to pay him like the star he is anyway. But more importantly, let's discuss. Star offensive lineman Trent Williams is still holding out and is now threatening to miss games. As a certified 49ers hater, I love this.
Jackie Chan led a special ceremony to kick off the first day of the Para Taekwondo Championship in the Paralympics.
And last but definitely not least, Gritty won NHL Mascot of the Year for the second year in a row. Deserving.
Thank you for listening to another sports show. Thank you to our co-creators, Nicole Katz and Brianna Klein. Thank you to the four-legged executive producers and me, VoiceOver Man. Make us one of your stars of the game by subscribing, liking the video, and turning on auto downloads. Make our day by leaving us a review on your podcast platform of choice and a comment on YouTube. Attend the postgame on social media for exclusive daily content. We'll be back to review the playbook every week. See you next Tuesday.
Today was another sports show, but it was not boring.